Let's check the implementation of the JDBC. Let's proceed to the file. I will just have the new project. Let's say the name of the project. I will say this time it is 3 batch. Fine. Without clicking the rest of the tabs, let's proceed for finish. So this is how S3 batch is created over here. This is the project. Right now you can just check only JRE system library with the Java SE 1.7 or 17. This is present over there. So let's right click on this source folder and say new. Let's say the class is, this time I will say it is exp11, and with the main to be ticked. Package, I will just have the same name of the package. You can change it and say finish. Now we just created one class with the name exp11, and it will have the completion of the template itself. So we will just proceed with step number 1, where we just want to have the inclusion of the packages. Okay, so this is what our step number 1. So let me just write here import. The package which we will require over here is java.sql.star, so that it will include all the prerequisites classes or the interfaces which do have the inclusion of the SQL. Okay, so let's proceed. This is what the first step. Second step is nothing but to load as well as to register the driver. So load and register the driver. This is how one can just go for it. But to load the driver, we need a for name method. So this is nothing but the for name method, which do have the com.mysql.cj dot jdbc dot driver. This is the string which will be accepted for this for name method. Now this is nothing but the driver which we will require for this for name method. But one more thing is there, we cannot access this method directly, but in class named class. Okay, so this is what the class whose name is class itself, and this for name method is accessible only through this class itself. Okay, fine. Now here one error is been prompted, we need to fix up some values over here, add throws declaration, surround with try or catch. Now there are two options by which one can proceed. Either you just say surround try or try and catch, or directly add throws. Now this will do for us. So if we say this is what the class not found, let it be with exceptions, so that this error will be gone over there. Now once this is step number 2 is completed, let's proceed for step number 3, where we need to maintain the connections. Okay, fine. So this connection has to be maintained over here. So it will be maintained with the help of the reference to be provided for the connection interface, and that too by using the driver manager class. It's one of the method is over there, which is nothing but get connection. Now you can just observe over here. This is what the method which we can use. Now when the connection is provided over there, it do have the interface, and it will require some of the aspects. So let it be completed over here. So step 3 is completed. The thing is, let's check. This is the static method actually, get connection. To have the connection as a connection, you can say as a return type. So the very first thing which the get connection needs is nothing but the string URL. Okay, now this URL directly I will just copy from the in-bit code itself. Okay, now we will just understand what exactly the role of this particular URL. One can use this one as a string name also, no need to worry for this one. Okay, so this is actually the database name. Okay, and the second thing which we need to put over here is nothing but the name of the user is accessing the database. And this third thing which is required over there, that is nothing but actually the password of the database. Right now we are dealing up with the MySQL database, so com.mysql indicates this is what the database we are dealing up with, and JDBC API, and it is driver. Same is the case applicable for this first URL, that is JDBC API, then MySQL database, the localhost, that is means one can say it is the PC or the laptop by which actually you are triggering the databases, and this is the port number, this is the default port number, one can change it, and the database with which actually we need to interconnect. So this is how actually the connection is been maintained over here. Now in order to trigger this connection, we require certain things like, okay, now once the connection is maintained, there will be the task of executing certain queries. Okay, now how to execute this query? For that one I will just go for additional thing, con.execute update. So if this is done, one can just check over here that it will require certain aspects. Okay, fine. So this is what one of the step one can proceed with, but before this particular step, let me just, before execution I will just go for preparing the statement. Prepare statement. Okay, so this is, let's say ps is equal to, now this is to be called through the reference of the interface con dot. So it is with the method. Okay, fine, this is what the method we will give the reference for. Now it will do one task, let's say insert into, this is what the command is, SQL query I just want to execute. Insert into, let's say it is the table employee, and the values to be inserted name and password. Now right now they have a confusion that what exactly the name and password. Name is the first column, password is the second column, and which are the values that we need to insert. I will just say it is the two question marks. Right now these are the two values which we want to insert. Okay, so let's complete it. This is where it will be completed, and once the statement is done, then with the help of this ps itself we will call the method, that is execute update. So execute update do have the integer type of return. Let's say it is int I will say int I is equal to execute update. Then here, in order to set the values for this question mark, let's say first question mark I will just say it is a name. So since it is the name, let me just say this is what the step number 4, where we do have the statement preparation. Okay, correct. Once the statement preparation is done, then execution of query. Okay, and the latter part is of processing. That is what next step, step 5. Okay, and the next is the processing. Now this is what done. Let's say the processing, how to be executing this particular thing, that is called as a dynamic query. So here the values we are not directly specifying in the queries itself, but we are giving the flexibility to the user that he can add it. So let's say it is ps dot, this time I want to set the values. So both the values I am just putting as a string format. So let me just go for the string. Okay, fine. So first parameter is the string itself. I will say it is nothing but, let's say Akshay, which I want to insert as a name, and the second value which is nothing but, one can say second question mark. So let it be set with the value 2, and its password is, let's say it is 54321. This is what the password. Okay. Once it is done for the user only, we will just put message that the values are being inserted. Data inserted successfully. Okay. This is what the message for the user. At the console end, we do have the inclusion of this one. Now, whatever the references we created or the object to which we created earlier, we can have the closing of all of them. Icon dot close. This also we can do. This is what the final step. You can sense out that it is nothing but, let's say, the step number 6. Close the connection. Okay, fine. Even we do have the closing of this PSC. Fine. Now let's check what exactly this database is. This database is nothing but actually with the name, let me just modify it. Database name is test, and whether it do exist or not, that we will just check with the platform. This command line client itself, I will just check it whether it do have the existence of database test. So yes, it is existing. So I will just say here select star from employee. We will just check. Yes, it is also existing. Right now Yogesh 1 2 3 4 5. This is what the last entry we can just observe. Okay, here as such keyword primary key is not included, that's why the data is getting repeated. Okay, but normally it is been recommended that at least one column should be there with the primary key, otherwise we cannot track the data. Okay, so that is very essential. So let's proceed for it. So this is how the structure, that is name password for the employee table. Now let's check with our code whether the Java code is means interacting with the database. It should have the inclusion of this Akshay, and the password should be 54321. Now when I execute this one, I will have one problem, that is nothing but the code will execute successfully, but it will not interact with the database since the bridging is not been done over here. Okay, so let's check what exactly that error. Okay, fine. It is giving certain errors like com.mysql.cj. Okay, means the class not found exception. So obviously it is not getting the drivers. So if you want to means load the drivers, it is recommended to go for the Maven repository. Okay, let it be loaded. MVN repository. Okay, fine. So this is what Maven repository. Once you execute it, at the Maven repository by clicking on this one, okay, you can have fetching of the related jar file, that is MySQL connector. Just type here MySQL connector jar, search it, and again click on it. Then we require the JDBC drivers, so click on JDBC. Okay, fine. Again let's say the drivers. Few of the drivers already it is been specifying. Let me just click on it again. Okay, just check here, few of the versions are over there. We will just go with the version which is not vulnerability or not showing this vulnerability cases. So one can go with 8.0.28 or let it be with the 2.9. Okay, so I just gone with the compatibility and I found that 2.9 is quite compatible with my database. Okay, I will just check it. Okay, 2.9. So this is what the driver I just selected, and just click on this jar. We will have the downloading of this particular jar file, that is MySQL connector Java. So once this downloading is done, then here let's come over here, click on right click on the project, say here build path, then configure build path, and go to the library, add external jar files. Here already I do have the downloading of the same, so I will just select the 8.0.29 and click on apply and close. That's it. So this reference library should add this MySQL character. Okay, once it is done, then let's come to your code, and this particular exception should be gone this time when we execute it. So let me just refresh this project, refresh it. Once the project is refreshed, again come to the file, say run as Java application. That's it. The role will be completed over here. Now we will get the message that is data inserted successfully. Now whether it is really inserted successfully means Akshay and 54321, that we can just track by just coming over here and rerun the query. This is what the earlier display. Rerun the query, that is select star from employee, and we can just observe that yes, after this entry Yogesh Akshay 54321, this has been inserted. So this is how one can just track whether the data is inserted or not. In the same way, you can just track it at the console end also, whether that data which has been inserted is really successfully inserted or not, and that too at the console end. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.